Ava, thank you so much for being here. I thought you probably in your business just taught knitting and crocheting, but you teach fabric painting too, don't you?
Right. Yeah.
How did you get into doing that?
I like to paint.
Oh.
I paint with watercolors or acrylics. And
So do you have to have some talent then?
not necessarily. What we're going to be doing today is with sponge shapes.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's something you can do with the kids.
And I noticed you brought some small curtains so that we could get an idea. You could paint large sheets. You
Sure.
could paint tiny little coasters so it
Sure.
can go from one spectrum to the
Sure.
other.
Anything fabric.
And what type of fabric do you recommend?
Cotton, polyester works best, or 100% cotton.
Would you want to wash the fabric first?
You need
get
to
the
pre-wash.
sizing out?
Yes,
Okay.
you need to pre-wash it and press it to get wrinkles out.
And this is an example. Of course, we talked about the curtains could be any size, but I think it's a great way to make some pillow tops.
And that's what we're going to be working on
Okay.
today.
Special type of paint that we use?
Acrylic paints can be any brand of craft paint.
Oh, so they don't have to be special fabric paints?
No.
Just as long as it's an acrylic?
If you are going to use something that is not specially for fabric, you need to add a textile medium, or this says fabric painting medium.
Converts acrylics to fabric paints. Oh, I
Right.
see.
And all you have to do is just squeeze some out on the palette. And we're using a Dixie plate here for the palette. Just squeeze some out and then just take a popsicle stick and mix it.
So now
together.
are you going to put that in each one of the paints? Is
I've
what you
already
would do?
got it.
Oh, you already have?
Yeah.
Okay. And what type
Okay.
of sponges are we going to use? The
You
one we
can
wash
use-
dishes with?
No.
Okay.
This is non-toxic, but you don't want to use it on anything that you're going to eat out of or clean your plates with. You can use the pre-cut sponge stamps that you can get
find
in the
some
store.
already cut, can't you?
Right, but you're limited to the size and the shapes that they have in the packages. So what we're using today is what's called compressed sponge, and it's just a sheet, very thin sheet of sponge, and you can draw your shapes. What I have here are some leaf shapes and petal shapes. Cut them out and put them in the water, and when you put them in the water, they expand.
To about a 3/4 of an inch.
And these have already been used, so if you just clean the paint out of them, you can save them for later.
Oh.
But
And like I noticed here, you've got the actual leaf shape. This is the little flower.
those are actually what I used on the curtains.
Okay.
So-
Now, I know you can use sea sponges. What kind of sponge is this one?
This is just a synthetic craft sponge, and you can use it to do a background as on this sample right here, where I've done
some of this
kind
in
of a
between.
turquoise background. A sea sponge has bigger holes.
Ragged edges,
Right,
kinda.
so you really get a better.
While we're looking at this, how did you get this glitter on it?
That is
Right
the
there.
dimensional, it's a dimensional fabric paint.
Oh, it's fabric paint as well. It's just the
right,
glitter
and-
metallic.
Has a very small nozzle tip on it.
So you don't add anything to it.
No.
You just use it straight out. Okay.
You can also outline with a brush and
Okay. Let's go
regular
ahead and
acrylic
try
paint.
some of it.
Okay, first thing you need to do is take a piece of cardboard or some sort of backing, and you want to cover it with plastic.
we just used
Wax paper or foil doesn't work. It sticks to the back, and you wind up having to peel it off
it
the
off.
back of
Okay.
a painting. So just cover it with plastic. You have saran wrap on yours, and I've just got a plastic bag.
Okay. So we
Garbage
could use
bags
either.
are great.
Yeah.
Garbage bags are also good for a quick smock.
Oh,
Cut
to
a
wear.
hole for the neck and hole for the arms. And
So if we were doing a
slide it
T-shirt,
on.
we'd put this cardboard and wrap inside the T-shirt.
inside the T-shirt, and then fold the sleeves back out of the way.
Out of the way. Okay.
Okay, and then you take your color. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use one of the sponge shapes and take the light green.
Now you've already wet. This is the one
Right,
that
I've
was
already
wet.
wetted. Okay, take the light green. Now, when you're painting, light colors tend to recede. So I'm just going to do a background by just stamping. And just try to keep it as random as you can get.
And go ahead and do it even though it's getting light, because less and less paint's
yeah,
on
and
there.
you can
so,
add
okay.
you can add a little more paint and then wash. So you want to join in? When you think you have enough background, and you don't want a huge amount, that when you have something just to set the piece down, set it in place on the fabric, then start with your foreground leaves. And to do that, I'm going to, same leaf shape, I'm going to stamp it in a light green, and then I'm going to take the dark green and just do
an edge.
Yeah. And then you can just stamp it on.
Kind of blot it off.
Yeah, blot it.
So put it on it, and then this on the edge.
And then now this one I'm going to be a little more careful with where I place it to make it look like a spray of leaves. So start here, and don't worry about just going over your background. And just scatter my sprays of leaves. Now my sponge is a little wet right here, so it's blurring a little bit on the edges, but that's okay. We're going to go around it when we're finished anyway. But you would need to, if that starts happening a lot, you need to just squeeze the water.
So after we do that one, what would be the next step?
Okay, the next step would be to take your flower color.
With the same piece?
You can use the same piece. You can use a bigger piece. You can go with something like this if you want. But I'm going to use just my same piece, and I'm going to dip it in red and in a little bit of the white. So I'm going to get a pinkish color. And now this I'm going to put with the point toward the center. So just stamp and stamp around in a circle, leaving the center open, because we're going to use the circle piece like this and dip in the yellow, and there's our circle.
Oh, I'll get my own. Pretty. That's really fun.
And just
so you just continue this,
continue.
And then when this is dry, and I guess you want to let it dry overnight, do you?
I usually just let it dry overnight. It's would probably be dry before that. You can actually take your dimensional paint now while it's still wet, and then just carefully
add that
add
at this point.
this.
Now, do we seal this with anything? For instance, we don't have to iron it or anything like that to seal it?
After it's dry, then you do need to turn it over on the back and iron it with a warm iron.
Not steam, just warm.
And you need to let it cure about a week before you wash it. But after that, you can wash it in the washing machine. I usually line dry or lay flat to dry, but you can put them in the dryer.
Well, what great gifts we could create.
Sure.
Okay, well, thanks, Ava. I appreciate you showing me how much fun this is.
Thank you.